Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the session on investing in priority sectors of Kazakhstan. My name is Nick Kaufman. I'm Head of Equity Capital Markets and Syndicate at Wood & Company. So Kazakhstan has been opening up its economy for years now. It has new political leadership, and the country continues a balanced multilateral foreign policy. Talks of privatization of state assets are moving forward. There was the KMG IPO last year. After some challenging times, Kazakhstan presents an interesting set of capital markets opportunities. During our session, the leading companies from various sectors in Kazakhstan will have a chance to discuss their accomplishments and the challenges they face, share their plans, and highlight strategic priorities. I'd first like to introduce our speakers. We have Yerzhan Mukhanov, the CEO of Kazatomprom, Diana Arizova, CFO, Deputy Chairman of the Management Board at Kazmunaygaz, Aydan Akan, who's the CFO and Deputy Chairman of the Management Board at Kazakhgaz, Nikolai Babeshkin, who's the CEO of Koresa Group, and Yevgeny Monakhov, Head of IR at Polymetal. Hopefully there'll be a chance for questions at the end, but if I can ask the audience to wait with their questions until the end after everyone has spoken. I'd like to start with Kazatomprom, which is a leader in the global uranium industry and was the first company to be listed on AIX. So, Mr. Mukhanov, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome and thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Yerzhan Mukhanov, as I have been presented, and I am a CEO of Kazatomprom. And I have been a part of Kazatomprom Holding for almost 17 years. My remarks and the discussion that follows may contain some forward-looking information which is based on various risks and assumptions. That is why we include this disclaimer in our presentations. So shortly about Kazatomprom. Kazatomprom was established in 1997 as Kazakhstan's national operator to oversee nuclear fuel cycle activities in the country, including uranium mining. Our position as the national operator continues to be a key competitive advantage, which is expected to continue driving substantial value for our stakeholders. For those investors who recognize the important role that clean nuclear energy and uranium fuel is expected to play in the coming decades, there are few investment opportunities that could be compared to Kazatomprom. We are the world's largest uranium producer. In 2022, accounting for about 22% of global uranium production at the attributable basis, and second largest resource base, spread across 14 mining assets and 2 exploration projects. All of our resources are mined by in-situ leaching method, which allow us to be a lowest cost producer and have minimal impact on the environment and personnel. Apart from uranium mining, we have significant capacities in uranium processing, production of high-value products such as fuel pellets and fuel assemblies, ready to be loaded into nuclear reactors. The company is implementing a joint Kazakhstani-Chinese partnership project proposed to produce Afatri GTM designed fuel assemblies. The second delivery of nuclear fuel was accepted by our client CGN in May 2023, just a couple of weeks ago. This year, we plan to increase production of fuel assemblies at Ulba FA in order to reach designed capacity of 200 tons of low-enriched uranium in 2024. Kazatomprom is actively working on expanding capacity of production of high added value products, which allows the company to strengthen its position in the global nuclear market in the long term and expand its presence in other stages of nuclear fuel cycle. We have access to conversion technology, which the company could consider in case of long-term positive market signals. We also have access to enrichment services, which makes us a participant in the enrichment market and secures guaranteed access to one of the most important stages of nuclear fuel cycle. By keeping leadership in uranium mining remains our main source of revenue and the most profitable segment. This is why our focus still remains on uranium mining. We are working with our partners and exchanging technologies, knowledge, know-how, and experience. Moving on to supply-demand pictures, the forecast demonstrates that there is growing potential for supply gap in the midterm future. Third-party projections already forecast this gap to continue to expand in the coming decade. Kazatomprom has always stated that it would closely monitor supply-demand and the market situation to determine the need to return production volume in accordance with subsoil use contracts. Given the improving supply-demand dynamics, Kazatomprom is looking forward to expand its production, yet in disciplined manner. For these reasons, the company plans to increase production to from -20% to -10% level in 2024 relative to subsoil use agreements, which is about 25.3 thousand tons of uranium. Looking out over the next 10-20 years, the fundamentals for nuclear energy remain strong with continued growth in reactors capacity, and with growth comes in an increasing demand for uranium fuel. Our emphasis on delivering value for our shareholders and our focus on sustainable and disciplined development, including ESG, makes us well positioned to benefit from the positive market dynamics and expect to deliver resilient financial performance as the market transitions. Kazatomprom has an impeccable credit history and a reputation of high-quality borrower, international investment grade ratings, which overall allows attracting financing on the most comfortable terms. Kazatomprom's debt to capital is below 10%. Temporary liquidity deficits are covered by short-term loans up to 12 months within the framework of existing corporate credit lines. At present, Kazatomprom does not carry out any significant or capital-intensive capex. At current share price at some sub $30 per share, Kazatomprom's shares remain an attractive investment from a value approach perspective. Kazatomprom's dividend policy stays the same and is based on free cash flow. Kazatomprom has paid consistent dividends over the years and maintained a compelling dividend yield. Last month, we announced our plans to pay out dividends for the results of 2022 financial year. On May 26th, annual general meeting of shareholders approved dividends to be paid in July 2023 in the amount of 201 billion tenge, which is roughly $470 million or about $1.7 per share. This translates to a dividend yield of about 6 to 7%. Taking into account the latest declared dividend since IPO, total shareholders' return of Kazatomprom shareholders resulting from appreciation of share price and dividend payout will amount to 200%. Okay, gentlemen, thank you for your interest and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Mukhanov. Some of Kazatomprom's products are transported through Russia. Have you experienced any export-related restrictions so far? And do you expect any export requirements from international organizations to become stricter?
Yes, thank you for your question. Our transportation routes through Russian territory is historically established, and for the moment we do not experience any problems to transit our production through Russian territory. But in terms to mitigate the risks, we established since 2018 the Trans-Caspian route that we successfully use. Even for this year, we made already transfer of our products through Trans-Caspian route, and we're going to use it this year again. So, in terms, our clients could be maybe sure that our production will be delivered in any case.
Thank you. Nuclear power has a major role to play in the clean energy transition, but for decades its use has been a divisive topic among the public. How do you think we can begin by shifting the public narrative around nuclear?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, public concerns regarding nuclear energy is understandable, but we know that currently modern nuclear power plants are much more safer than it was before. And the nuclear power also provides 24/7 power supply. That's not the case for renewables that are belongs to the natural conditions like wind or solar. And that contributes to the stability of resilience of electricity grid. Taking this in account, the specific of nuclear energy, for the moment, it's the most green energy, and I think the safest source of electricity power for the world. And Kazatomprom understand our significant role that we play in the energy supply in the world, because Kazatomprom is a source of 100% of uranium for nuclear power plants in the world. We follow the reactors growing market. Each year it grows very significantly, and for example, number of countries include the nuclear energy in their strategies of decarbonization. And for the moment, we understand that nuclear power it's the only way to reduce our carbon footprint in the world.
Okay, thank you. So turning now to KMG, Kazmunaygaz. In April, some of the biggest oil exporting countries declared an additional reduction of around 1.6 million barrels per day in oil production, aiming to stabilize a market that's been continuously declining since last year. As I understand it, Kazakhstan, while it's among those countries, this decision will not affect the output of KMG. I hope Mrs. Arisova will share with us information on the current production level and the strategic plans of the company.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I can confirm that so far those limitations didn't affect KMG's production. We are below the set level. First of all, on the behalf of KMG, I want to thank the organizer of this Capital Markets Forum for giving us this possibility to present our company today. So, national company Kazmunaygaz is Kazakhstan's leading oil and gas company. We operate across the entire production cycle, from exploration and production of hydrocarbons to transportation and refining. KMG represents the Republic of Kazakhstan in the national oil and gas industry. The company is owned by the state fund Samruk-Kazyna, the National Bank of Kazakhstan, and the remaining 3% of company's shares were sold to the market last year. Starting from the 8th of December, KMG's shares began to be traded on two Kazakhstani exchanges, which is AIX and KSE. To note, KMG's IPO was the largest IPO in the history of Kazakhstani stock market. in terms of number of applications received, around 130,000. The placement volume, around 154 billion tenge. And the participation of individuals in the placement volume, which reached 51.2%. Also, KMG's IPO is the first digital IPO. Is about 99% of all applications were submitted online through mobile applications of second-tier banks. As of today, the value of our shares has grown by 20% from the placing price. Last year, company's main operating results were for oil production is 22 million tons, and this is approximately 26% of all oil produced in Kazakhstan. Oil transportation volume was around 75 million tons, and the refining volumes totaled to almost 20 million tons. Here, I want to speak about 4 major points which contribute to KMG's growth and raise investment attractiveness. Number 1 is KMG's financial stability. KMG is rated by all 3 credit rating agencies, which are Moody's, S&P, and Fitch, and 2 agencies rated KMG at the investment grade level. During the last several years, KMG significantly decreased its debt level, and now major share of KMG's debt portfolio is taken by Eurobonds, and in the short-term horizon, we do not have any large one-off redemptions of Eurobonds. Both of our exploration program and long-term production profile contribute to company's financial stability. Our 1P reserves life cycle is 16 years, which is comparatively high. And our 2P reserves amount to 5.5 million barrels of oil equivalent. Our exploration portfolio includes 8 onshore and some offshore projects, including 4 exploration projects performing in partnerships. Additionally, KMG, being a national company, has preemptive right for subsoil licenses for any new Kazakhstani exploration projects, both sold on the market or by the government. KMG holds participation shares in all 3 mega oil fields in Kazakhstan, which are also among the world's largest oil fields, Tengiz, Kashagan, and Karachaganak. Both Tengiz and Kashagan have a production growth potential. So-called future growth project at Tengiz is very close to its completion, and it will increase oil production at Tengiz by additional 12 million tons of oil per year. Another promising perspective for company's growth is petrochemistry. KMG has cheap feedstock readily available, and we see petrochemicals as the natural point of growth and improvement of the company's value chain. A strategic milestone for us was the launch of a large-scale integrated gas chemical complex, Kazakhstan Petrochemical Industries, last year. And its design capacity is 500,000 tons of polypropylene per year. This plant uses Tengiz propan as a feedstock. Besides this, KMG is about to start a new project for the construction of polyethylene plant. And so these 4 growth opportunities which I have listed, we believe will support Kazmunaygaz to continue its role as a leader in the oil and gas sector of Kazakhstan and deliver good financial outcomes to its shareholders. Here we present KMG's key financial data. As shown on the slide, there is a stable positive trend both for the company and its shareholders. And despite the volatility on financial markets and the challenging geopolitical situation, KMG has delivered attractive financial results in 2022. Our EBITDA increased by 16.4%, up to $5.5 billion. and mainly due to exploration and production segment of our business. Free cash flow increased by 36.5% and reached $2.4 billion. And dividends received from our JVs and associates amounted to $1 billion, mainly due to dividends from Tengiz, Mangistau Investments BV, and CPC. And dividends paid to shareholders increased by 50% for the year of 22 compared to 21. Despite KMG's core business is in the upstream, the company pays serious attention to its ESG agenda. Sustainable development and gradual reduction in carbon intensity of production are among our strategic goals. KMG joined the UN Global Compact initiative and adheres to all 17 UN sustainable goals. KMG became the first company in Kazakhstan that adopted low-carbon development program, pursuant to which KMG has set a goal to reduce CO2 emissions by 15% and carbon intensity and energy intensity by more than 10% by 2031 against 2019 levels. In December 22, KMG's ESG risk management was rated by Sustainalytics at 28.4, which is medium ESG risk exposure, and which is quite low for oil and gas companies in general. Regarding our green initiatives, we are currently launching the implementation of several green projects. Among them are the construction of 120 megawatt hybrid power plant project in the Mangistau region jointly with ENI, and 1 gigawatt wind power plant with an energy storage system in the Jambul region, jointly with Total. As part of social responsibility, company provides secured 47,000 permanent jobs. We have spent 12 billion tenge for local communities development and provided support for local producers that help to maintain an 82% of local content. KMG, together with Samruk Kazina, is constantly working to improve corporate governance, including gender diversity. Company's corporate governance is assessed by PwC at BBB level, and PwC assigns a corporate governance rating and makes recommendations for further improvement on a regular basis. With this, my presentation is over. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. You mentioned the geopolitical situation. Now, nearly all, 95% of Kazakh oil passes through Russian territory. And we've seen some disturbance last year with Russia citing technical maintenance and regulatory issues. Are there plans to diversify crude oil export routes, and in which direction?
Yes, but before I talk about the diversification of our export routes, probably it is important to note that currently all 3 tanker loading facilities are working without any restrictions, so we don't see any issues with the technical side. And yes, CPC continues to be the main export route of Kazakhstan oil. It provides the best export economics, and KMG, together with the other CPC shareholders, are working to ensure the reliable operation of the pipeline despite the current geopolitical situation. As for the alternative export routes, there are 3 major routes. First is oil supply via Aktau port to Azerbaijan and further to BTC pipeline. And in 2022, KMG has signed an oil transit agreement with Sakar for the transportation of Kazakh oil along the Aktau-Baku-Ceyhan route in the amount of 1.5 million tons per year, out of which 20% belongs to KMG. And on April 22nd of this year, the first shipment of oil with the volume of 90,000 tons from the Turkish port of Ceyhan was carried out by the tanker Alatau, which was operated by our subsidiary company, Kazmor Transflot. The second alternative route is the Aterau-Samara pipeline, which further goes to Druzhba pipeline and delivers oil to Germany. So the first batch of oil in the amount of 20,000 tons was delivered to Germany in February this year, and the second batch in March in the same amount. So yes, the third alternative export route is Atasu-Alashenko pipeline to China. Its capacity is restricted for now, but KMG has launched a project to increase the capacity of this pipeline. There are some bottlenecks of Aterau-Kenkiak section, which we are now working on to improve, to increase the capacity.
Thank you. You mentioned the IPO last year on AIX and Kasie. It was the largest ever in Kazakhstan. Have you got plans for a dual listing of GDRs in KMG on a foreign exchange or other exchanges?
The answer is yes. We do have such a plan. And currently, we are examining opportunities for international listing for the best benefit of the company and its shareholders. We do not rule the possibility that the possibility of international SPO because it much depends on the situation on the market and the demand from potential investors. But the company has started to liaise with international banks, equity investors, and this dialogue will be continued.
Okay, thank you. So now turning to Kazakhgas, which is the largest gas supply company in Kazakhstan, representing the interest of the state in the domestic and international gas markets. We'll be delighted to learn more about this very promising potential issuer. Sanjay, sorry, Aydin Akan. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaufman. Good morning, everyone. I also would like to express my gratitude to organizers of this event. I believe it's a quite useful and very important event to all of us. We do have some great news for our potential partners and investors. So let me go briefly through them. Basically, you may all know that Kazakhstan is, or Kazakhgas, I'm sorry, is a national gas operator and responsible for development of gas industry in Kazakhstan. So basically, for Kazakhstan, the issue of developing the gas market is a matter of energy security, sustainable development of the economy, and the quality of life of our nation. Natural gas plays a key role in the transition to a new energy and green economy. All projects that we do in the gas industry are focused on improving the social welfare, since the gas is primarily consumed by the population and is a driver for the country's economic development. With the support of the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, the government and the Ministry of Energy and our stakeholders, Samruk Kazna, Kazakhgas takes all possible measures for, first of all, uninterrupted gas supply to the domestic market and sustainable development of the gas industry. So the main big news from our side is that the reform of gas industry, reforms are being implemented. The industry has become attractive for investments. So one of the main missions of Kazakhgas today is the development of and stimulation of the gas market along the entire value chain from exploration to the gas ring. In December 2022, we managed to enforce amendments to the current legislation, basically the current pricing rule, to aid the implementation of the following initiatives. Approval of wholesale commercial gas prices for a long-term period of 5 years with the possibility of annual adjustment. So this will help us to focus on the long-term investments in terms of the so we will all know the average price for the next 5 years for commercial gas. Number 2 is the introduction of 2 new categories of gas consumers. Basically, it's large gas commercial consumers and software miners. For these 2 new categories, the pricing of gas will be a bit different. It will be higher than the normal consumers for basically the population. And the last one is that the application of an incentive formula for the price of new gas volumes purchased from the subsoil users. Basically, this new incentive formula is a new mechanism to motivate the production of additional volumes of trade gas, which will consist of 70% of the export price netback and the 30% of the domestic price. This formula was discussed with industry association and at the Subsoil Users Forum. We also signed a few offtake contracts with a number of subsoil users who is interested in the production of new volumes of gas trade. Basically, this will motivate our producers to produce more gas and obviously invest in the gas infrastructure. It is also quite important to mention that Kazakhstan is not just an oil country. Kazakhstan has large world-class gas resources. We are highly likely to become a gas country in the future. There are 62 trillion of cubic meters of potential forecast resources, 3.8 trillion cubic meters of recoverable gas resources. At the same time, only a third of the sedimentary basins have been studied so far. Moreover, we are working on exploring opportunities on coal bed methane production in Karaganda region. So, Kazakh gas strategic approach is to expansion and diversification of the resource base includes measures to the following. Number 1, it's increasing the resource base by stimulating and assisting other subsoil users. Obviously, second one is a geological study of subsoil and geological exploration in gas-rich fields. And third one is development of gas resources in the regions close to major consumer centers. Here we would like to show you the challenges ahead of us in the next few years. Basically, the gas industry faces great challenges in the coming years. The gap between the resource base and the demand puts energy security at risk. If you see at the graph, the black dots is our forecast of the consumption by 2030. This is an aggressive scenario. And we also have a second scenario with green dots, which is more moderate scenario. So in 2022, last year basically, Kazakhstan reached its historical maximum of gas consumption. By 2030, according to forecast data, the prospective consumption of trade gas may reach, as you see in the graph, 44 billion cubic meters, while the gas resources the available, basically, gas resources will be only 35 billion cubic meters. This is fully due to the inefficient gas processing plant capacities that do not allow accelerating of the growth of gas resources base, which creates a gap between supply and demand, which is a big risk for us in terms of the energy security. So basically, this is our bottleneck. From one point, we do have a lot of gas resources, and we do have a forecast and a big consumption growth, but the problem is the bottleneck is the gas processing, the shortage of the gas processing plants. Therefore, Kazakhstan needs to implement a number of priority gas transportation system and underground gas storage infrastructure projects, as I said, due to domestic consumption growth and our gasification plans. At this point, currently we are building Kashagan gas processing plant for 1 BCMA. We are now having negotiations also between Ministry of Energy and PSA operators of the Karachaganak and the Kashagan projects on the construction of 2 new gas processing plants at the Karachaganak and the Kashagan fields with a capacity of roughly 4 BCMA each. Additionally, Kazakhstan is now realizing projects on the modernization and construction of new gas transportation systems, which will allow us to switch from coal to gas on strategic objects, such as, for example, thermal power plant in Almaty. You know that we are switching Almaty from coal to gas. And also, the main idea is to ensure the stable gas supply to basically west part and south part of Kazakhstan and also Astana. Taking into account the mission and vision of the company and the face of existing challenges and opportunities, in the face of existing challenges and opportunities, Kazakhstan has developed a new strategy that consists of 12 areas of development. But let me go through the most critical ones. So number one is we must introduce fair tariffs and prices that stimulate the development of the gas industry and energy efficiency, as well as the structural changes leading the gas market towards gradual deregulation. It is also important to ensure that the growth and the diversification of the resource base. Number three, it's ensuring the timely expansion of the capacities of gas processing projects. Number four, it's ensuring uninterrupted supply and maximizing the export and the transit potential of the country. Number five, it's provision of possible future projects of gas in gas chemical industry with raw materials, basically with supply of gas and the new projects of gas chemistry. It is also important for us to develop competencies in the gas industry and build a highly competent organization. You also may know that we are preparing ourselves for an IPO, like previously Kazatomprom and the Kazmunagas did. We are planning to do an IPO in 2025, which also includes reaching the target levels in terms of the ESG rating. So on my last slide, I would like to basically highlight the key investment opportunities. Basically, Kazakhstan is Kazakhstan's national gas champion with resilient cash flows generation and significant growth opportunities. We are monopolists in the gas industry. We do have priority right to subsoil use in the gas fields. We do contribute 1.7% to Kazakhstan's GDP, which is expected to double by 2030. We have strong and consistent cash flow generation records. Our average annual net profit is about $900 million US. We have subsidiaries, namely it's Asian Gas Pipeline and the Bennu Bazoy Gas Pipeline, which is our JVs with national importance with Chinese CNPC. Given that there are unprecedented challenges and also new opportunities we do have ahead of us, our gas strategy is aimed at the gradual deregulation of the gas market. Overall, I would like once again underline that we are searching new partners and new potential investors to the gas market. We all want to, for our potential investors and partners to maximize their profits with Kazakh gas in Kazakhstan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Akhan. It was reported earlier this year that Kazakhgas and Gazprom tentatively agreed on the route of new gas pipelines from Russia to China in return for the gasification of the north and eastern regions of Kazakhstan at a lower price. Is that correct? And if so, could you provide more details on the terms, in terms of volumes, and so on?
Well, it's correct, and our Ministry of Energy is going through discussion with Russian partners. But I think at this point it's a bit early to announce or to discuss more detailed information and plans on this.
Okay. And then in March, I think there was a statement from Kazakhgas that you may stop exporting gas as early as next winter to make sure there's no local deficit. How will this affect the company's financial results?
The decrease or even stopping the export volumes obviously will negatively affect on our financials. Unfortunately, last year during the winter time, we had to stop our exports. This was due to unplanned maintenance works in our three giant, basically gas providers, is Kashagan, Karachaganak, and the Tingis. Hopefully, we won't have this situation next coming winter. We doing our best to prepare ourselves in terms of the gas resources in the upcoming winter. And we do expect that our supply to both domestic market, which is the main priority for us, and supply to export will be stable, and we will continue as planned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we turn to Kalesa Group, which is a leader in the Kazakhstani classifieds business. The company runs Kalesa.kz, which is the #1 classified site for selling cars in Kazakhstan, and Krisha.kz, which is the leader in classifieds for selling and renting real estate. Kalesa Group has been recently listed on the pre-IPO segment of AIX, which is the first step to going public. And I'm sure our audience would like to hear more about this business and its plans. So I hand you over to Nikolai Babeshkin, who's the CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for introduction. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to share information about our company, about Kalesa Group, in front of such interesting audience. We don't do it often, I would say even rarely. That's why some facts can be interesting for you, I hope. And most of you know us from our products, Kalesa KZ and Krisha KZ. Kalesa KZ is the #1 platform in auto markets in Kazakhstan, and Krisha KZ is #1 platform in real estate markets. Why do we call them platforms? It's simple, because they include other product. For example, Kalesa KZ, apart from ad classified business, include products like spare part marketplace, where, as I know, the biggest amount is SKU right now, and new cars from dealership or fully digital auto loan, which we launched 5 years ago and successfully worked all these years. And fully transactional model, we call it Колеса resale, where we buy cars and resell them. Krysha KZ also, apart from ad classified service, includes products like Krysha New Buildings. It's products for developers where people who prefer to buy apartment directly from developers can find it. And Krysha Valuation Service, it's a smart service which helps to get estimated value of your real estate. And Krysha Agents, where we engage to transaction together with verified real estate agents. Also, we represented in Uzbekistan market with product Avtoelon.uz. Initially, now Avtoelon is the #1 platform in auto in Uzbekistan. Initially, it was a copy of Колеса KZ, but over the time, Avtoelon has developed into a very strong local player. And our joint product with Kaspi Classifieds, it's Kaspi Объявления. In the past, it was separate application Market KZ, which we successfully integrated into super app Kaspi. And now the team is actively working on its development. Sorry, can I have... sorry. What we have right now, it's 15 million monthly users, but I have to clarify that because we have 4 separate platforms and they are very popular, of course there are some crossing between them. That's why this number is it's a summarized number of all audience from each platform. And Колеса KZ is, let me check, yeah, Колеса KZ is visited by 5.6 million unique users per month. And we are proud that 72% of all cars sold through our product. And also we are proud of top of mind score, which is 73. 10 out of 10 flats sold through Krysha KZ, where 4.3 million users solve their housing issues every month. And we are particularly proud of top of mind score, which has grown recent years and now is 76. And yeah, we really like how we found the synergy with Kaspi, and it is reflected into strong growth of monthly active users in general classified. And yeah, we continue to compete with Avtoelon in Uzbekistan market. It's funny, but our biggest competitor in Uzbekistan, it's offline markets, and people still prefer to sell their cars offline. They go to outside the city, spend all weekend by trying to sell their cars, by chatting with other people. But it takes time, and Avtoelon is the #1 platform where they go when they decided to sell their cars digitally. Yeah. And we divide our revenue streams to 4 directions. First one is advertising. It's understandable. And value-added service, it means payment for promotion. ad promotion, when people would like to up their adverts higher than competitors to get more calls, to get more sales, and listing fee the same includes this category. Lead generation, and what we really like last year is transaction models. And as you can see on the slides, transaction models are a very large part of revenue, but revenue from classified businesses are very huge and consistent growth. And what we see that very big amount of businesses work with us, and we fully understand our responsibility as our products help 300,000 entrepreneurs build their businesses in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. And what is the secret of such development and growth? After all, we have been newspaper, website, application, now we are platform, and now we are into transactions. The answer is simple, but very difficult to implement. We spend a lot of time into development in both our team and whole industry. For example, we have internship 4 or 5 times per year. It's paid internship. Free education courses in tech. We train over 300 specialists per year. We have biggest tech conference for developer. Regular education meetups, dev to dev, every 2 or 3 weeks. Annual researches about labor markets, about employers. It's open for public. And as a result, we have the smartest, strongest team in Kazakhstan. 100% of our top managers are people who have grown inside the company. And last slide, it's a small outlook, a small part of vision from our team. What we see is that process of buying and selling cars and real estate can be dramatically improved. And our goal is to create the best possible experience in these spheres. That's why in our transaction models, we have purpose to get 10% of the 21 billion auto market and 27 billion of real estate markets in Kazakhstan, as well as 17 billion markets in Uzbekistan, auto market in Uzbekistan. Yeah, thank you for attention. That's all.
Thank you. A couple of questions, Mr. Babashkin. Could you please highlight your experience with the pre-IPO listing on AIX? Was it a challenging process? And then were the challenges worthwhile? What are the advantages of doing this step, this sort of technical step before an IPO? And would you recommend it to other companies to follow your path?
It depends of plans other companies, but for us it's better to ask our lawyers or financial department. But as I remember, it wasn't so difficult because Kolesa Group is a mature company, and we already had all these processes like 3 years, financial planning, budget, audited accounts, and I wouldn't call it's like challenge. It's more than additional work, and the team was ready for it. Yeah, but as a company, it's quite standard procedure. I think everybody here understands what to do if they decided to do it.
Okay. your business, it's online services, and you can be significantly impacted by network threats. Information security risks lead both to reputational risk in case of data leakage, and also infrastructure risk if your systems are hit by intruders. How have you mitigated those risks?
Yes, it's a very wide question because it's impossible to solve it just like hiring best team in the world. And that's why we strongly believe that the best way to manage cybersecurity question is to be open to cybersecurity community. We equally work with companies, Kazakhstan and international companies, as well as we work with individuals, like white or even black hackers, and through bug bounty programs, and we have like honeymoon spots. I don't know if you know what I'm speaking about, like place when you can attract some hackers and you can connect with them, and like it's like own bug bounty program. And in Kazakhstan we work with Tsarka. They are very strong, by the way, very strong team. We can compare. And in international companies, HackerOne, we work with them. And of course, our qualification of our internal team is consistently growing because of all of this communication with cybersecurity community. Yeah, and it's impossible to finish like your products are developing, and you can consistently be ready to solve new problem with cybersecurity risks, like that. Be open to cybersecurity community, and they will love you too, believe me.
Okay, thank you very much. And now to Polymetal, which is a top 10 global gold producer and top 5 global silver producer, with a high quality, low cost asset base. Its portfolio comprises 10 producing assets and 2 major development projects across Russia and Kazakhstan. Today we have a chance to learn more about Polymetal's business approach, strategic decisions and performance across its operations, as well as plans for its re-domiciliation. So Yevgeny Monakhov, who's the head of investor relations at Polymetal.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you all for coming. I'd like to express my gratitude to the organizers of this event. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to share the stage with the leading Kazakhstan companies. My name is Yevgeny Monakhov. I am heading up the investor relations function at Polymetal. I would like to talk about the business and cover our exciting but very challenging project that we've undertaken is the re-domiciliation out of the UK into Kazakhstan. So Polymetal is a top 10 precious metals producer. Gold and silver are our main products. We operate 10 sites, 8 of them in Russia, 2 of them in Kazakhstan. We are number 2 producer in Russia and number 2 producer in Kazakhstan. We are leaders in refractory ore processing. Refractory ore is a difficult to process ore. Just 2 decades ago, this kind of ore and deposits with refractory ore were considered to be hopeless, and they were left in the ground. But now, because of the processing or refractory ore processing technology that we possess, these refractory ore deposits could be developed and produced. We have been a public company for more than 10 years. But before we get to the history of the public equity markets, I would like to speak maybe about sort of the principles that we approach and the foundation the company has been built on. The company has been founded in 1998, so 25 years ago, and we've gone from 0 to 1.7 million ounces a year in terms of production, which puts us in the top 10 table of producers globally. We're quite proud of this achievement, and we credit this achievement to quite a few simple rules or the principles that we abide by. So number one, we focus on what we do well, which is precious metals. We focus on gold and silver, medium-sized deposits, high grade, which in our view delivers best returns on capital, and that's what we are after. We are vertically integrated. We explore, we scope, we engineer, plan, and build our mines ourselves. We process the ore ourselves. As I said, we have an outstanding expertise in refractory ore processing technology, and we produce the final product. Organic growth is a big part of our DNA. We are not keen on buying existing assets and buying existing production. We think that the best quality and the best returns are delivered to shareholders via exploration and providing them with the greenfield projects. Our big claim to fame is dividends. We are, unlike many gold producers globally, pay a significant material dividend, and we think that's our philosophy, that the dividends is something we owe to the shareholders. Quite a few of our partners in the industry think that they owe shareholders growth, and they invest in growth, neglecting the dividends. But our regular dividend is shareholders' right. It's paid out before any growth capex. We try to be disciplined in the terms of the capital allocation and in terms of leverage. Our optimal sort of leverage ratio is around 1.5 times net debt to the EBITDA. We, of course, are winning the hearts and minds of the people in the communities that surround our producing assets by sticking to our ESG principles, and we're very fortunate and grateful to be recognized as leaders in the ESG, and that's recognized by a lot of sort of accolades that we receive from the ranking and the rating agencies. So the outcome of this principles is the company that pays a significant and sustainable dividend, delivers meaningful growth to the shareholders, reduces its societal and the environmental footprint, enjoys the social license to operate, and does that against the backdrop of a robust and strong balance sheet, which is the basis for visible earnings and cash flow. We went public, as I said, more than 10 years ago in London. We have been a FTSE 100 constituent for the most part of our public history. We have been listed in Astana on AIX since 2019. You can see the chart below shows our average dividend yield payment, and that's quite a difference if you compare it to our peers and our competitors in the industry, which, as you see, have been paying significantly less. If we look at sort of the relative payments, the difference is even more striking in terms of dividends paid per ounce of gold produced. A few words about the project that we are engaged in right now with the help of our partners here at IFC and AIX. Following quite a substantial material geopolitical changes in 2022, the board and the management has made a decision to migrate, to re-domiciliate to a new jurisdiction away from the UK. That jurisdiction was chosen to be AIFC here in Astana, and the strategic rationale behind the redom is to restore shareholder value, which has been significantly impaired by the events of 2022. to come back to our sort of key founding stone of our equity story is the dividend payments in return to the cash distributions to our shareholders, and enable us to strategically invest, divest, and develop our business, which has been hampered by what happened in 2022. We've, as a company, and the board has considered a number of destinations where we could go, and we've chosen AIFC for the reasons that we already have a significant material presence in Kazakhstan, so there's substance to this move. As I said, we're #2 gold producer in Kazakhstan and have been present in the country for almost a decade. The redom to AIFC turned out to be the easiest route in terms of regulatory and the legal approvals. Not that they are can be sort of neglected, but it's the easiest route which was available to us. The infrastructure of AIFC provides us already with fairly high international standards in regulation, rule of law, and of course the presence of the independent court and the principles of the English common law provide a lot of comfort to our shareholders and the board that the principles that the business has been founded and taken to public in London will sustain themselves and will persist once we redomiciliate. Our timeline is on the screen. The major sort of milestone has been passed just last week. The shareholders at the shareholder meeting on the 30th of May have approved the redom, and we're looking forward to coming here and becoming a fully sort of fledged AIFC member sometime in the middle of July. With that, I will conclude. We'll wait for your questions, and of course, Nick, please.
Thank you. Well, you've answered the first part of my question, which is how you're going to do the redomiciliation and the timing. How will that affect the trading accessibility and the ability to receive dividends for shareholders? And I note that Wood & Company, my firm, has been designated to provide custody and brokerage services on AIX to your shareholders.
It's a challenge for us. The company has been sort of in London for more than 10 years, and the shareholders have been used to a certain standard of reporting, disclosure, the regularity of payments, etc. So us transitioning to a new jurisdiction provides us with quite a lot of challenges and tasks. We need to ensure that shareholders face as little disruption as possible in the trading and the liquidity that they have on the exchange, and in how they receive their dividends. We are very grateful to our partners here, AIX and AIFC, and our partners, the brokers that are trading on AIX, to supporting us in this transition. We hope that both institutional and private investors who have become quite a big part of our register over the last 12 to 15 months will see that the transition from one jurisdiction to another is as seamless as it can possibly be.
Okay, thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of our speakers. And I think in conclusion, this is my 4th decade of seeing frontier markets. And the typical thing about frontier markets is that they go through crisis after crisis. And that's why they're frontier markets. We've had multiple currency crises. We've had financial panics, changes of governments, and then the COVID-19 pandemic, that affected everywhere. And now the current geopolitical situation, which has also had much wider impact. But these are tests for us all that the frontier markets have come through time and again, and always gone on to a higher level. And I think it's really important, if you've seen the earnestness with which Kazakhstan in particular has been pushing forward with privatization. Even when markets were closed last year, they did the KMG IPO. And I think you've got a flavor from the variety of companies here, both fundamental but also tech. So across the whole spectrum of modern economy, of the opportunities that Kazakhstan can offer. So I'd like to thank all the speakers for sharing their thoughts. And I think there's probably a bit of time for questions from the audience. Gentleman over there.
Добрый день, спасибо большое.
Good day. Thank you very much. I have the question to KMG. You have had a good IPO, several thousand shareholders. However, the communication is not established quite well. The latest general meeting of Kazmunaygas was conducted not in person, but minority shareholders has questions. We want to ask questions, maybe not comfortable actions. So my question is, will you be doing all these meetings not in person, or you will do it in person? Will you be with us, with minority shareholders? Thank you so much. If you remember, in March, Kazmunaygas presented its consolidated financial statements, and it was made in public. There was official invitation for minority shareholders for this meeting. And the latest annual meeting of shareholders that was conducted was so during this, we approved this statement. So Kazmunaygas, Kazmunaygas is a transparent company, and in future we will have in-person meetings, and we will counteract with minority shareholders. Besides, this question could be addressed through our website. We have this open communication line. So, and we always reply and give our responses for each request.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. I just want to, because everyone spoke in English, that's why I just want to also continue in English. Actually, very nice presentation for the big companies I see here, Kazatomprom, KMG, Kazakhstan. I wish you all the best. You are our giants, and we hope that these challenging years will give you also hard work, but despite that you can manage, you can go ahead, no doubt about it. I'm very proud that we have people here in Kazakhstan like Nikolai Babeshkin, who is a really tech company. We are really proud of him because just because of people like Nikolai, the IT sector is no doubt is one of the leading sector among not only Central Asian countries, but maybe CIS countries as well. So we are happy for that. And actually, as far as I have experience in the mining industry, I have a question to Mr. Evgeny Monakhov. Actually, thank you very much for your nice presentation. We are happy you decided to come to EAFC, AIX especially, because we know that you are not first year here and you are over a decade here. We wish you all the best and congratulations with coming. Welcome to Kazakhstan. It's really nice because the listing from London Exchange and coming to Kazakhstan Exchange is sort of also advertisement for Kazakhstan. Actually, my question is related to this geopolitical situation and the new challenges for polymetal, because as far as I know, most of the mining sites are located in the Russian Federation, and most of the profits are coming from Russia. And in Kazakhstan, you have only Varvarinskaya factory and Bakarchik deposit in the East Kazakhstan. I know that you are also providing big support for mining, junior mining companies here, and I saw myself that the partners are happy to work with you as Polymetal because you know how to do it. to make everyone happy. And my question is, what will be the strategy from now on? You will mostly concentrate and focus on Kazakhstani projects, or and how would you deal with Russian biggest deposits in Russia? That's my question. And how? Yeah, because I want you to be the leader, you know, not top 10, maybe the #1 company. So how are you going to reach that level now? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Just a little correction. In terms of revenue, we're split 60-40 between Russia and Kazakhstan. So it's not as lopsided as the number of sites, because the Bakarchik is our flagship project, is the biggest mine in our portfolio. In terms of the EBITDA generation, it's actually closer to 50-50 between Russia and Kazakhstan. The board and the management will consider and will continue considering its options of what to do with the Russian part of the business. As far as Kazakhstan part of the business is concerned, our strategy remains unchanged in terms of exploration and via our own initiatives and the JVs with the juniors. We want to grow materially our resource base in gold and primarily, but also in our sort of strategy assumes a significant jump in the reserves in the base metals, namely copper. We want to achieve 30% of our reserves to be in copper in 10 years' time. So that's one big focus that we're going to have. And the biggest near-term challenge and the capital expenditure is going to be POX plant in Pavlodar, which is going to bring the refractory pressure oxidation technology to Kazakhstan. We were pioneers of that technology in Russia, and we will be the pioneers of that technology here in Kazakhstan. So this project will hopefully be launched, officially approved and launched in 24 and completed in 2028. And that will sort of put us completely on a self-sustainable path in terms of the Kazakhstan assets in here. We also hope to use Kazakhstan and AIFC as a springboard for exploration and finding new projects in the neighboring countries, which we know are quite rich in precious metals deposits.
Good afternoon. A question for the CEO of Kazatomprom, please. Could you tell us a little bit more about the JV with Rosatom and Uranium One, please? Thank you.
Sorry, say it again. About which JV exactly do you ask?
The JV with Rosatom and Uranium One.
Okay, thank you. So yes, Rosatom is one of our partners in some JVs. Currently, in terms of mining, we have 5 JVs with Rosatom subsidiary, which is Uranium One. They're working since a long time, and there are Karatau mine, Agbastau, which are Zarechne, Kharasan, and last year that we announced Rosatom bought Stepnogorsk mining company, complex, and which is our partner in Budyonovsky JV. Yeah. Is it okay with my answer? No? Okay.
Over here we have a question. Yeah, but they're recording it, so...
Thank you very much. My question is, my name is Quinton. I work with SRM, a London consultancy. My question is for Mr. Akan, related to the gas reforms that you outlined, which were very detailed, and I thought it was very, very interesting. Really, there's a big focus on the issue of price, and if I remember correctly, you were discussing price reforms, new categories for large enterprises, miners, which I interpret as cryptocurrency miners, but maybe I did not interpret that correctly. Is that enough to offset subsidized prices for households, other areas, smaller businesses? And kind of a second question, you said it's attracting investors. Do we have any names, anybody that we can point to that are looking at the reforms and investing in the gas sector now? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Basically, these two categories, new categories, is, as you said correctly, it's large business consumers, number one, and it's crypto miners. Per annum, our loss for domestic sales is around 180 billion tenge. So we cannot increase the prices at that level as we want to cover all this 180 billion. But we are planning to do this gradually. The season, we count it as a gas seasonal period from 1st July this year, 23, to 30th of June, 24. This will bring us additional income around 65 billion tenge. So roughly, and this will increase. So on average, we forecast that in 3 or 4 years, we will manage to close this gap to this. We will manage to close these losses that we generate from the domestic sales. And in terms of your second question, is we are talking to investors from different parts of the world. Obviously, the main partners at this point is the Chinese companies, given that we have a joint ventures already with Chinese companies. So they are interested to invest in gas processing plants and the construction of gas processing pipelines, gas transportation pipelines. And the interest is quite different in terms of some of the companies want to go into the equity. Some of the companies are ready to finance in the format like EPC plus F. Thank you. This is if it covers the question.
Hello, audience. Dear Mr. Akan, I would like to ask a question for you. Thank you for your excellent presentation on Kazakh gas business. My question is related as a continuous of the previous one. You said about, during your presentation, you said about one of the strategic goals is to ensure country's gas at optimum price. I see here two aims, strategic aims that Kazakh gas has. The first one is to be profitable to shareholders, especially bearing in mind the possibility of future IPO. But the second one is to provide enough volume of gas to the domestic market. My question is, what is the target distribution between export volumes and the volumes that goes to the domestic market? Because domestic volumes are sometimes unprofitable.
Yeah, thank you for your question. This is the main challenge for us. From one point, from one side, we have to make sure that there is enough gas for the internal consumption, and we have to make sure that the gas price is affordable for the locals. From other side, we have to make sure that the gas price is sufficient to be interesting for external investors to invest in exploration and production of gas fields, to be interesting for investing in infrastructure such as gas processing plant and pipelines. So this is quite difficult, but in terms of the so we are working on it to find the perfect decision, but the main thing is that as I previously said, that we are not putting big pressure on consumers of gas as internally. The main pressure will be, again, it's not like a huge pressure, but the gradual pressure for large consumers and the crypto miners, who is also, you know, the big consumers of the gas. In terms of the export, we do have so-called commitments to supply around 5 billion cubic meters per annum to export. So we focus and we plan to hold these commitments in terms of the export. And obviously we have to make sure that now we are massively investing in new gas projects. So we have to make sure that by 2030 and further there will be enough gas volumes for both domestic market and for export. Thank you.
Over here. Yeah. Hello. So my name's Tom Dans, and I'm from Houston, Texas. Wanted to thank you all for 5 excellent presentations. Really makes the trip worthwhile to hear all of you at once. Been working in Kazakhstan and Russia for about 30 years. My question for you is, and with due respect to Mr. Monakov, for attracting U.S. investors into your companies, what do you see as the key challenges at the moment? And then what are your priorities if we're talking about U.S. inward investment? Are you looking for strategic investment, or are you looking for portfolio investment? And what specifically can American firms be doing to attract this? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, about 15% of our shareholders are from the US and Canada, so a significant part of the owners are already based there. For us, the biggest challenge is to ensure that we do not lose anyone while we migrate, that we keep everyone on board. So I guess the main challenge is infrastructural. The plumbing of the financial markets is the key hurdle for us to carry over all of our shareholders while we redom and perform this corporate action. We're not looking for strategic investment. That's not something we're about. We are a publicly traded company, and we've so far managed to develop our projects alone, which ensures, I think, the operational consistency and the efficiency and the returns. Thank you.
Over here.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question to Mr. Maranov. Welcome again to Kazakhstan. It's always nice that FTSE 100 companies select our country and AFC, especially as your registration jurisdiction. And my question is from the practice side. After you will complete your redomiciliation, what will be your taxpayer status? Will be your Kazakhstan tax resident? The question is just, will there any additional tax paid to our republic budget after you will complete the redomiciliation in Kazakhstan?
Thank you for your question. It's a bit above my pay grade. We need to speak to our head of tax, who will provide a more accurate answer. But we are a tax resident in Kazakhstan right now. We will be, after we redom to AIFC, a tax resident of AIFC, and of course we'll comply with all the rules and regulations of the AIFC.
Thank you, the moderator and the speakers. And I would like to address my question to Kazakhgas in terms of your plans for IPO in general, and what kind of IPO you're looking for, whether it's local only or dual? Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. Obviously, the details to be determined in the upcoming year. As I said, we are planning to do an IPO according to a privatization plan is by 2025. We are not new to the market. We have issued Eurobonds earlier in 2019. Sorry. A lot of things to do now in terms of the creating a shareholder value and shareholder story for Kazakhgas. This is closely tied to our gas resources, our revenues from the transportation and from transit. So a lot of things to do, but overall, in terms of answering your question, we wanted to be in the format like it's done by Kazatomprom. So maybe, I don't know, as I said, it's to be determined, but some portion up to 25, some of with the dual listing in London and local market, obviously.
Okay, I think we've overrun, which I think is testament to how interesting you've all found this. I'd like to thank our esteemed speakers again. That was very good to hear you all, and thank you very much for listening and also for your questions, and ladies and gentlemen in the audience. So thank you very much.
Excuse me, may I ask one last question before we conclude our interesting session? First of all, many thanks, gentlemen, for 5 very interesting presentations. My name is Alexander Morozov, Citigroup. I have a question to Nikolai Babeshkin. Nikolai, thank you for a very interesting update on your business, and obviously you are one of the leading tech companies in Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan is a huge market. Together with Uzbekistan, we are talking about more than 55 million in population. And it's great that you have already made listing on the AIX, but at the same time, the potential of the markets is huge, and your business is rapidly developing. Would you consider at some point to attract the global investors into the company, and probably consider listing in the US, where your global and best peers are trading? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's 2 different questions: to be listed globally and work globally. And I can't reveal our plans about listings, but about working, being transaction in auto and real estate markets, like I said, it's very big markets. Like our goal is only 10%, and now our transaction models, it's less than 1. And it's very big potential, and it's huge numbers. It's easy to calculate. All market data are available for it. And for us, next 2 years, at least 2 years, these 2 markets is enough, more than enough. Believe me, it's a very difficult process, especially when you buy cars by your own and sell it. It's difficult IT and offline work. That's why we don't have public. It's better to ask to answer like that. We don't have public plans to global expansion. I think it's better to answer like that. Yeah.
Good job, Nick. Congratulations.